Section 1 of the Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Foon. The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices by Mrs. H. Llewellyn Williams. The History of Ice Cream. As Rome was not built in one day, so was mankind a long while arriving, by slow stages, to the perfection of summer refreshment enjoyed in our American ice cream. So frankly acknowledged is its excellence that it is welcomed in London, where the climate favors its being eaten all the year round. The benighted Europeans, for the most part, have to be content with its paler sisters, the water ice, and the old-fashioned ice cream. In early times, beverages were cooled by exposure in porous vessels to currents of air. In the hot countries possessing snow-capped mountains, however, the snow was gathered, compressed, converted into a kind of ice by saturation with water, which, when frozen, was cut into blocks as required. The snow is still used in the neverias of Spain and in Turkey for sherbets, the sorbetti of the Italians and the sorbets of the Parisians. Ice has been known for the table from time out of mind. There are biblical allusions to its use by Solomon, and the people of Palestine still use ice and snow from Mount Lebanon. Alexander the Great was so fond of it that a frozen delicacy, the Macedon, is named after him, as the chief Macedonian. About 50 years ago, a Bostonian shipped ice to the British metropolis, where ices were made fashionable by Gunter, a confectioner. But the supply is now drawn from Norway, augmented greatly by a family, named Gatti, making the delicious dainty popular. In Paris, as in India and South America, several reliable ice-making apparatuses suffice for the demand, and freezing mixtures of approved value are elsewhere used. The last are recommended where ice is not readily obtainable, for these machines are not practicable on a small scale or for casual want. While there is a wide variety of iced delicacies, upon excluding such fanciful flights as frozen fruits, glacés aux fruits, two main kinds are found: water ices and ice creams. The latter, called by the English cream ice, is divided into the American, or Philadelphian, and the Italian, or Neapolitan. The former is more of a cream and less of a custard than the other, the proportion of eggs used differing, but they have a close resemblance in substance. The art of making either sort, and the multitude of kindred frozen sweets, is to be acquired quickly, with no difficulty, from the instructions in these pages. Abroad, one can revel in ices, without visiting the most fashionable confectioners, as the ever-present Italian vendors sell excellent articles. And at the petty stalls by the portico of the Milan Cathedral, as good ices can be had in clam-shells, as out of a porcelain at Doni's in Florence, or the Florian in Venice. End of section 1. Recording by Foon. Section 2 of the Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Foon. The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices by Mrs. H. Llewellyn Williams. Ice cream making appurtenances, utensils, etc. Although this list of the utensils required by the ice cream maker may seem formidable, all are not indispensable, and most are already in the kitchen. I have also, where possible, indicated how to attain the end by simple means. Absolutely necessary, however, are the freezer with its ice pail, a paddle or wooden spoon, an ice bucket with implements for breaking ice up small, and, common in all kitchen outfits, a bain-marie, water bath, or farina boiler, strainers and sieves of wire, muslin, hair, or silk, lemon squeezer, preferably of wood, as it imparts no flavor as metal might do, mortar and pestle, an egg beater, unless you use silver knife or fork, or hand whisk to beat with, jelly bags, porcelain-lined bowls, molds for cream, an ice cave, étuve, for biscuits glacés. Confectioners, for precision, use lactometers for the milk, thermometers, saccharometers, areometers, graduated measures, and scales. For family use, there are patent machines, saving labor and time as they are worked by a crank. The old styles, turned by hand, is not, however, out of use. Instructions for the machines are generally provided with them. Ours are for the old-fashioned freezing can in a pail. This is a cylindrical vessel of pewter, block tin, or tinned plate. The bottom is rather thick and rounded. The lid, or cover, has a strong handle and fits tightly on its deep lower edge only, so that its removal is easy. If this border fitted tightly all its depth, it would pump up the contents and be hard to take off. The outer vessel, or pail, is of hooped wood, somewhat deeper than the freezer, and capacious enough to enable ice to be packed between its inner face and the freezer's surface. It is supplied with a drain hole at the bottom and stopping plug to draw off the wastewater of the melted ice. The bain-marie, or custard boiler. This is an apparatus to boil cream, sugars, etc. without danger of burning. It comprises two vessels, the inner one for the cream, etc. to be cooked, kept away by hot water from contact with an outer jacket, which is directly exposed to the fire. The inner dish is usually block tin or iron, porcelain-lined, the outer of tin plate. Mortar and pestle. These implements, in whiteware, as used by druggists, are useful for crushing kernels, bruising fruit, and pounding sugar and spice. Egg beaters. A knife beats even better than a fork. The beaters worked with a crank save time. The large branched whisk is very efficacious, and so is the confectioner's egg whip. The ice pail. The pail should be strong enough to resist the breaking up of ice in it. The pieces of egg size can be reduced as wanted. The paddle, or wooden spoon. Any heartwood, not too heavy, will do, as long as it emits no flavor. If a flat metal spoon or spatula is used, it ought to be silvered or tinned, and even then it is apt to detach metal scrapings from the freezer. The pulper or masher. Fruit is generally mashed with a wooden loggerhead or potato masher, or with the pestle in a mortar, but some cooks force it through a coarse grater. The flat graters are handy for many purposes, being stronger than round ones. Molds or shapes. These are made in a bewildering variety. The most desirable are a round one, an egg or oval, cabinet pudding shape, an oblong, popularly the brick, the pyramid, and the rockery, moule au rocher, an irregularly surfaced mound. The size most in request in the family kitchen is the small one intended for single ices. All are made in halves, hinged and shaped to facilitate turning out. The simpler the shape and less irregular the edge, the easier it is to extricate the ice creams, water ices, and puddings without breaking. Meters and gauges. Although most housewives, and nearly all cooks, not professional, hold scientific instruments in aversion, those for milk, spirit, sugar, and heat will be oftener employed if once tried without prejudice. The saccharometer shows the degree of sweetness of sugar syrup in any dilution by water, and will serve to test similar liquids. The lactometer answers for the same, and in testing the water in milk. The thermometer is more commonly known and used. The areometer tests the density of syrups, etc. Ice and snow. Artificial ice is usually frozen so solidly that it has not the air bubbles caught in it as in that naturally produced. It is not so good as the latter. Snow is good, and after pressing together and adding water, it will be broken ice for the freezing mixture with rock salt. Sea salt is better than rock salt, while the fine is nearly useless as it melts ice too quickly. Coarse kitchen salt can be used. The salt should be crushed into pea-sized lumps. Equal parts of ice and salt is the ice cream maker's mixture. In making biscuit glacé, more salt is used. End of section 2. Recording by phone.
Section 3 of The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by BettyB. The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices by Mrs. H. Llewellyn Williams. Materials for ice creams and water ices. Milk and cream. For cheap ice creams, milk is frequently used. When frozen, it will not stand firm as long as congealed cream. Another deficiency is a custardy taste, which can rarely be disguised, much less concealed by the tricks of the trade, i.e., the admixture of farinas and gelatin. The cream should be the very best, as it is very susceptible to and absorbent of flavors from the feeding of the cows, the dairy vessels, the vicinity of unpleasant odors in the transportation to town, etc. Cream skimmed off the milk after 12 hours standing is called single, after standing for the same period further, double, and this should be used, as it can be worked up into froth without loss. Cream, or Philadelphia ices. These are composed of perfectly fresh cream, or milk, few or no eggs, sugar, and various flavors. There is no cooking of the composition, as the mixture is technically called. In a china bowl, porcelain lined pan, or glazed dish, put the eggs, in yelk or white or whole, and the sugar of the recipe. With the paddle mix them thoroughly, and gradually add the cream, or milk. The bain-marie, or any double pan which prevents scorching during boiling, is to be ready with the water warm in which set the freezer. Pour the mixture into the latter through a strainer, and keep stirring it with the paddle until it runs no more. Take out the freezer and stand in cold water. Now pour in the flavoring. Never cook fruit flavors with the cream. Those who fear to put a pinch of salt in, to correct the flat taste of the milk, may substitute a little grated lemon peel. As the faintest taste of burning or overboiling will come out, take particular care in boiling. Get the fire ready and clear. The moment the mixture works smooth, remove it at once, pour into the glazed dish containing the flavor, and cover with muslin or paper, if the perfume or flavor is evanescent. Eggs. Eggs should be fresh. Candle each to perceive the state, and break each separately, so that a bad one may not taint the rest. Test also by smelling, and in winter taste for that strawy flavor, which must cause rejection of the suspicious specimens. When eggs are used in preference to cream, more sugar is required, in the proportion of 1 pound to 2 dozen eggs. Sugar. Sometimes home powdered granulated sugar is used, but commonly the best and most finely powdered is demanded by the recipe. If what you get is doubtful, powder the finest granulated sort in the mortar. By using syrup, particularly in fruit ices, sugar to water, by weight 1 part to 2, dissolved cold, the fineness of the powder does not matter. In very hot weather an excess of sugar delays the freezing. The standard proportion of cream to sugar is 1 quart to half a pound. Terms in sugar boiling. Au boule till it balls, an expression to show a stage in sugar boiling, when the boiling stuff, touched with a wet stick, or the finger dipped in ice water, is found so tough and yet yielding under cold water as to roll up into a ball. The crack, when the boiling sugar, cooled, will crack if bitten, and yet be clinging enough to resist a little. A stage beyond the pulling point in taffy making. Caramel, the seventh stage in sugar boiling, is described under the name coloring, which see. Fruit. So-called fruit flavorings and essences are used by the unscrupulous, but the real fruit is preferred by the connoisseur. On the ripeness depends the flavor, as fruit, once ripe, turns the point and begins to decay, but if it is immature, the acidity will tend to prevent firmness in the ices. In this case, use a less quantity. All should be fresh. If the small fruits, such as cherries, plums, and berries, are heated by the season or the journey, cool by dipping them in water in their basket, or wash them so briskly as not to wash away the flavor. Fruit with peel or rind, oranges, lemons, melons, should not only be washed, but brushed to remove impurities and the tang of the box, paper, sawdust, or other packing. The down should be rubbed off peaches, nectarines, apricots, and their kind. Woody or fibrous oranges and lemons are all but useless. The thin-skinned are always best. Unripe ones are sharper in the juice, and there is less of it than in mature ones. Lemons always improve where an acid is wanted, with strawberries, bananas, and oranges, for instance. The variations in flavoring power of small, unripe fruit as compared to mature fruit should be borne in mind. Sugar will correct acidity, but too much sugar hinders freezing, while too little makes water ices granulated. When ices are too much sugared, they become unctuous. Grass, French glacier, say, if too little, they will be sour, aigre. Unripe fruit should be mashed in the sieve and the pulp put in syrup, i.e. already made or fresh made of sugar and water, which is better than trying to sweeten the fruit by soaking it in water or syrup, a process which kills the flavor. Flavors. As "a little goes a long way" of the genuine flavors, these only should be used. They will not be found expensive, if properly used, that is, sparingly and only after the mixture has cooled. They are much more effective then. When a quantity of ice creams require various flavors, it saves time to put the latter in glazed pots in a row and pour the composition, made plain, into them. Almond. Only the paper or thin-shelled variety will serve our purpose. Milk of almonds, as the emulsion is called, is yielded most plentifully by the princess sort. It is made as follows: almonds, 2 ounces; sugar, 1 pound; water, 1½ pound; juice of 2 lemons. Blanch the nuts and run them through cold water. Pound them and keep them moist with water so they will not turn to oil. Put this paste into the syrup of the sugar and water and squeeze in the juice of 2 lemons. Strain. To avoid the expense of almonds, orgeat syrup may be used. In this case, less sugar will be wanted. Almond essences and syrups, or noyeau, are often used instead. Still less expensive are peach kernels. Caramel. Burnt sugar at the 7th degree of boiling, 400 Fahrenheit. It is bitter in taste, deep brown in color, hence used for coloring, and crisp, like taffy, toffee. For cream it is thinned in water and boiled again into molasses, treacle, till it ceases to candy. It is then bottled and kept corked. For cheapness, candy off color is used instead of sugar. Chocolate. Get the best without flavor and flavor it to suit, with vanilla or cinnamon, etc. Cinnamon. Druggists keep finer than the grocers. Get the Ceylon sticks, pound to dust and sift finely. Use sparingly. Coffee. Mocha is superior to Java. Select the small, rounder beans. Roast to a rich brown in a very hot oven. The fresh roasted beans are termed white, the ready ground roasted, black, in cream flavoring. Filbert. Much the same as hazelnut, noisette, which see among ice creams. Fruit flavors. See each in the recipe for its own ice or cream. Also see pages 15, 16, and 17. Hazelnut. The native is used, but the Spanish filbert is preferable. The Barcelona is not so sweet and is ranker than the English filbert. Madeira nut. Same as the English walnut. Maca, mocha, French cook's name for coffee, which see above. Pistachio nut, a small Spanish and Italian nut like a filbert and resembling the almond in taste. The latter is used in its stead. The characteristic green tint is imitated with the greens described in coloring hereafter. Milk of pistachios, follow the recipe for milk of almonds above. Vanilla and lemon are the most popular flavors. The Mexican varieties of vanilla are best, and the frosted beans choicest of them. The extracts and essences are not all reliable. In making vanilla syrup or sugar, an ounce will impregnate a pound. Cut up the bean at the last moment to work into the sugar for the savor. Walnut. Our walnut and hickory nut are used in taffy, but for ice cream the English kind must be taken. The skin is strong, and only a few fail to blanch or remove it, yet it is used unblanched sometimes. Fruit flavors. Fresh picked fruit is preferred in general, but canned, tinned fruit, though rather acid as a rule, will answer in quarters or pulp. Jellies and jams, if homemade, will supply a flavor, but they must be heightened by essences. The French fruit syrups are reliable, but often are so spirituous that they delay the freezing. In this case, add them at the last stage of the freezing. French fruit juice. Make a pulp of select fruit, squeeze it out through a fine sieve into a bottle, filling it to the shoulder. Cork tight and fasten the cork with wire. Put in a vessel of boiling water and boil for half an hour. Let the cooling take place in the water and then cork. Wax the corks, keep cool in the dark. When opened, use instantly. On account of the acidity, never cook with the creams. Take sugar and make a syrup, which is to be stirred into the chilled cream, or beaten in after the freezing. Fruit juice is the foundation of water ices and sorbets. Apple. Do not peel, but quarter and slice, letting the pieces fall into water to prevent discoloration. Chop and pulp up, straining out the juice quickly, to be mixed with sugar or syrup. Bananas. Peel, mash, and strain without delay. As bananas alone are tame and mawkish, lemon juice is used to improve the flavor. Cherry. Stone some of the largest, richest kinds. Bruise up to a pulp, in which mix some of the kernels of the stones, pounded so as to get the characteristic savor. Allow this to stand for a while, then stir again and strain. Grape. Avoid bruising the stones and braying the fruit in the mortar. Strain and blend with sugar to make a syrup. White grapes require color, purples none. Lemons. Foreign cooks prefer the Levantine and African. Nevertheless, Florida or California lemons can successfully compete with these. Choose on account of the thinness and smoothness of the skin. The weight, or heft, implies plenty of juice. The rind and seeds contain bitterness to be avoided, unless wanted for a zest. When this peculiar flavor is wanted, rub off the aromatic oil in a handful of granulated sugar or upon pieces of lump sugar. Then dissolve the sugar in cold water to make a syrup. If the fruit is wanted, pare off the inmost filmy envelope, quarter and extract seeds and pith. Crush, strain, and in the juice dissolve the sugar. When strained again, it is ready for use. Some slice the fruit very thin and smother in the sugar. Nectarines. Peel, stone, mash. They need lemon flavoring. Oranges. The English prefer the Mediterranean kind, others the West Indian, but the Florida, Red River, or California oranges will suffice, even for the epicures. Choose the same as lemons and treat similarly. They require a dash of lemon juice. Peach. The white fleshed peach is preferred to the yellow. As they will spoil very easily, work quickly. Chop and pulp, strain, mix with sugar or syrup in a glass jar. Keep on ice covered until wanted. Some of the kernels, bruised, give enhanced savor. Pineapple. Have the finest. Be careful about cutting off the rind and cutting out the core. Mash into sugar. Use at once. Plum. Save some of the stones to improve the flavor, by making a syrup of their kernels, broken and bruised in sugar. Mash the fruit, etc. Raspberries. Select large, ripe, clean, fresh picked berries. Press them out in a coarse cloth. Let the juice stand a short time, strain, sugar to taste, strain again and use at once. A little currant or lemon juice will improve this. Red currants. In mashing, avoid breaking the seeds. Strawberries. Choose the largest and reddest among the ripe, fresh gathered berries. Pulp with a potato masher in a little water. Let the whole stand for a couple of hours and then run it through a strainer. Bottle and expose, uncorked, to the air, or put in an oven or before the fire for a while. Cool. It is better to use it immediately. Coloring for ices and creams. For creams, beverages, ornamental pieces, and especially for fruit ices, the natural colors of the fruits have to be heightened or deepened. The colors should be the harmless vegetable ones and are obtainable at confectioners' supply stores or druggists. For amber or gold, see gold. Blue, indigo is rubbed in water. Brown, caramel sugar, which see above. Carnation, see pink. Gold, bright. Turmeric, dissolved in unscented alcohol. Marigold flowers. Green, vert végétal, or green carmine. Also spinach, green, made from the leaves, mashed, strained, boiled to a jelly, dried and worked into a paste, again with fine sugar. For leaves in decoration and pistachio nut cream, pink or red. Red Sanders in alcohol. Rose, carmine. The freezing operation. The freezer, taken out of its pail, receives the composition to be frozen. This is previously chilled, as it might curdle or become granulated, if frozen while warm, and anyway warmth delays the congealing. On the bottom of the pail put a flat piece of ice, 2 inches thick, which to rest the freezer. Set the freezer in the pail with the cover on it. Pack ice mixed in equal quantities with salt all around it, pressing the mixture down with the beater until it comes up to the edge. Protect the pail from the warmer outer air by wrapping it with old towels, cloths, rag carpet, or the like. Wipe the freezer with a towel and keep it spinning around steadily until the water melted out of the ice begins to rise, or in a crank machine until the working is hard. Uncover the freezer and with the paddle scrape off the frozen flakes just forming, and beat them thoroughly into one mass. Close up carefully without allowing any of the salted ice to drop inside. Resume the turning and so continue until the ice water again rises. Run off the brine through the plug hole and use it to saturate the pail wrappers. Fill up again with ice and salt. After a few minutes turning, uncover and once more detach the frozen patches, and beat them into the mass as before. Thus continue until the whole composition has become of even consistency through the action of the cold. In working it smooth with the paddle, leave off with a rounding of the top from all the sides toward the middle. When completely frozen, cover tightly and let it stand to ripen as the term goes. Draw the excess water whenever it reaches the top, replace with ice and salt, sponge off the freezer, cover the ice with a towel or woolen cloth, and cover the freezer with a white one, cotton, linen, or flannel. Water ices lose their coldness much sooner than ice creams, and so must be better protected from warmth and evaporation. To prevent the inconveniences of haste, ices to be eaten in the evening should be frozen early in the afternoon, and those for noon betimes in the morning, after preparation of the ingredients overnight, when fresh fruit is not to be used. When thus waiting, the freezer should be looked to every half hour, and a few turns given. A hard crust is likely to form around the freezer inside at the top, which must be removed. The composition may require a little manipulation to keep it smooth and uniform. When any cream or ice is left beyond the demand, dip the freezer in water to make it turn out nicely, and pour what is left into porcelain-lined pans. These resist the acids in the fruits. Store in a cool place to be used again. The French call this refreshing the composition. Ices and creams in quantity. As a large hand-worked freezer would be troublesome, a quantity is repeatedly made in an ordinary sized one, and then transferred to a sufficiently large container, which is kept cool in a vessel of ice and salt until the ice or cream is wanted. In case of accident, Should the ice or salt water spill into the mixture, take out the freezer at once, scoop out the foreign stuff, smooth over the gap and wipe the freezer inside. Pour in pure water several times and sop it out, removing the upper crust, as any water left in would turn to ice and spoil the cream. It does not so much affect water ices. End of section 3. Section 4 of the Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by BettyB. The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices by Mrs. H. Llewellyn Williams. Ice Creams. Philadelphia Ice Cream. Without cooking the composition, it is put into a freezer and beaten during the freezing. It increases in amount. All the recipes for Neapolitan ice creams hold good for this style, except that the foreign style requires eggs or more of them and more sugar. They are more firm and unctuous and less creamy and light. See the special individual directions for each sort. With cooked cream. Boil the cream in the double boiler, frequently stirring until the outer water boils. Remove and sift in the sugar and sometimes the flavoring. Stir till the sugar has melted and let it rest for several minutes before straining. Cool and then place in the freezer and freeze. The flavoring is often best added at the finish of the freezing. Neapolitan Ice Cream. Under this title, the recipes of all foreign ice creams are given. Some use whole eggs, others only the yelks, with perhaps 1 white to 5 of the yelks. In either case, beat the number stated in the recipe to a smooth, stiff cream. Add the sugar by sifting it in, or if, as commonly, in the syrup form, beat again. Strain and whisk up the whole into the firmest of froths. Mix with the cream, and lastly introduce the flavoring. The boiling is to be done over a smart fire with continual stirring until it thickens beyond the running point. Unboiled cream may turn, the other seldom curdles. When taken off, strain into a glazed dish, cover to keep the dust out, and allow to cool. When cool, put into the freezer, which should then be set into its ice pail and packed closely with ice and salt, as before directed. Let it stand with the lid off, but covered with muslin until ice cold. Freeze. Refer to the freezing operation. The Neapolitan or Italian style differs from the French only in being rather less of an ice cream than a frozen custard, and milk is more often used for the cheap popular supply than cream. À la Reine, à la Regina. For this French and Italian ice cream, in which cake crumbs are used, see among biscuits glacés. Almond burnt ice cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, 3/4 pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. White of egg, 1. Lemon peel grated, a pinch. Burnt almonds, 2 ounces. Burn the blanched almonds in a roaster in the oven, or in a pipkin of earthenware or iron, over the fire, until of a golden brown tint. Pound them fine with a little cream and some of the sugar, and put it all into the cream before straining the mixture. Another way is to boil the unskinned nuts with enough of the sugar to make a hard cake when cooled, which can be powdered and sifted fine. Add this paste or powder to the cream, then boil and freeze. To strengthen the burnt flavor and give a nice color, caramel sugar is used. See Caramel in colorings. Aniseed or anisette ice cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, 3/4 pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. White of egg, 1. Anisette cordial, 2 wine glassfuls. Instead of this, an infusion of aniseed may be made in hot syrup and strained, tasting to keep the flavor in bounds. The cordial is poured in and mixed at the final state of the freezing. Apple, baked ice cream. Instead of the mashed raw apple used for apple ice cream, use the pulp of baked apples rubbed through a sieve. Flavor with nutmeg, cloves, or cinnamon, or any 2, or all 3. Bay ice cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, ¾ pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. White of egg, 1. Lemon peel, etc. Lemon peel grated just by way of a relish, and bay leaves for sufficient flavor. An infusion of the latter is put warm into the cream when done. Bisque Ice Cream. See Biscuits Glacés. Boston Brown Bread Ice Cream. See Biscuits Glacés. Butter Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, ¾ pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. Whites of eggs, 2. Unsalted butter, 2 ounces. Grated lemon peel instead of a pinch of salt. The butter must be very fresh, i.e., with the salt washed out of it. When the cream is cooked and nearly cold, work the butter up with it by degrees, in a glazed pan till the union is complete. If the cream were too warm it would melt the butter and they would separate. It is thought an improvement by some to mix with the butter the same amount of milk of almonds, or of other nuts, pounded into a paste with a little cream. The primrose color is obtained from carrot or marigold flower juice, or the gold coloring described, page 19. Caramel Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, ¾ pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. White of egg, 1. Burnt praline. Orange flowers, 1 heaped tablespoonful. Sugar for the caramel, 3 heaped tablespoonfuls. Make the caramel as described under coloring. When it is at the proper hue, put in the burnt candied flowers, stirring a little. Take off the fire, pour a little cream on it to liquefy it, and put it into the cooked cream. Instead of orange flowers, vanilla or other flavor can be used. Serve with whipped cream, which see later if liked. Chocolate Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, ¾ pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. White of egg, 1. Vanilla chocolate, 5 or 6 ounces. Grated lemon peel instead of a pinch of salt. Scrape or shave the chocolate as fine as possible. Make a smooth paste of it with warm milk and put this with the eggs and sugar. If cinnamon or other flavor desired is not in the chocolate, add it. Chocolate Caramel Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, ¾ pound. Yelks of egg, 6. White of egg, 1. Caramel chocolate, 1 full tablespoonful. The flavor is added after the cream is frozen. It is made of chocolate in syrup heated to the caramel stage of 400 Fahrenheit. On the point of serving, trim with whipped cream, which see later. Citron Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, ¾ pound. Yelks of egg, 6. White of egg, 1. Citron peel, 1 pound. Make the same as other fruit ice creams. Coffee Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, ¾ pound. Eggs, 6 to 8, or 1 white and 6 yelks. Coffee, 2 ounces in powder, or 1 1/2 pint strong coffee. Grated lemon peel instead of a pinch of salt. Put the cream, or milk, eggs and sugar in a lined dish in the custard boiler and bring to a boil. Then throw in the powdered coffee, stirring to mix intimately until it thickens. Then cover and let it infuse for 5 or 10 minutes. Take it out of the water bath and let it stand uncovered in a warm place to settle while making the cream as usual. Instead of the proper boiler, an ordinary pan over a good fire may be used, and covered when the coffee is put in at the boiling point. In the same way as before directed, pour into a glazed earthen or china dish and cover close before mixing with the cream. Serve with whipped cream as finish. This is called, we repeat, black coffee. The white coffee is when the whole coffee beans are used and the taste and color are not so strong. Corn Indian Ice Cream. Mix with a quart of custard or cream, hot, the same quantity of cold, baked maize meal, white or yellow pudding, and force through the strainer. A sweet pudding will need no more sugar, or very little. Flavor with your choice and with cinnamon, nutmeg, or ginger. Serve after freezing with whipped cream. Cream and fruit. Simply the pulp of fruit mixed with cream, a pint to a quart of the latter, and the mixture frozen. Crème Blanche. See White Ice Cream. Custard frozen. The same as vanilla ice cream, which see. Instead of the vanilla flavor, choose another to taste. Déguisé. Disguised ice cream. The same as hot ice cream kisses, which see. Delicante. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, 3/4 pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. Whites of eggs, 2. Vanilla, if this is the flavor chosen, 1 ounce with sugar. Make the cream as usual and freeze. Dissolve the sugar and boil it to the boiling point. Boule, see Sugar boiling. Pour this into the white of 1 egg, frothed up, and continue to beat the whole until cold, enough to be carefully added to the frozen composition. The other flavors, as butter, coffee, maraschino, orange flower, pistachio, etc., are imparted in the same way. Filbert Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, 3/4 pound. Yelks of eggs, 5 or 6. White of egg, 1. Shelled filberts, 4 ounces. Blanch the nuts and roast them a deep brown in an oven. Rub them to remove the oil exuding, and bray them in the mortar, with a little cream and sugar, until they become a smooth paste. Mix this with the cream and cook. Cool and freeze without straining. If not a good color, tint with caramel. 4 flowers. Quatre Fleurs Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, 3/4 pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. White of egg, 1. Orange flowers, jasmine, of each a pinch. Jonquils, pinks, a little less than a pinch. Infuse the flowers in the warm cream when it is taken off the fire after being cooked. 4 spices. Quatre Épices Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, 3/4 pound. Yelks of egg, 6. White of egg, 1. Ground cinnamon, clove, and nutmeg, a pinch of each. Make as usual and work in the flavor toward the finish. Fromage glacé, ice cheese. See Biscuits glacés. Frozen custard. See Custard frozen. Frozen froth, mousse. Whipped cream, frozen without stirring during the congelation, presents a novel appearance for serving with ice cream or ices of a different color, as the compositions so pleasingly vary in texture. Fruit ice cream, crystallized, iced, or candied. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, 3/4 pound. Blanched nuts, 2 ounces. 3 or more kinds candied fruit, each 2 ounces. The nuts may be almonds, pistachios, or commoner ones. The fruits may be chosen from among the French glacé, or crystallized cherries, apricots, dwarf oranges, chinois, plums, etc., or homemade preserves. Drain them of syrup, chop up small, smother in sugar, and before serving stir them in. If too sweet, use a little lemon juice. See also Frozen fruit. Hazelnut Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, 3/4 pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. White of egg, 1. Shelled hazelnuts, same as American filberts, 4 ounces. Blanch the nuts and roast them a deep brown in an oven. Rub off any oil brought out upon them, and bray them in the mortar with a little cream and sugar into a smooth paste, called milk. Mix this with the cream and cook. Cool and freeze without straining. If the color is pale, deepen with caramel. Jalapin Ice Cream. Ornament a Neapolitan ice cream when about to serve with pieces of vanilla biscuit inserted. Lemon Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Yelks of egg, 6. White of egg, 1. Sugar, 3/4 to 1 pound. Juice of 4 lemons. Juice of 1 orange. Grated peel of 3 lemons. Mix the lemon and orange juice and add some of the sugar. Boil in a glazed pan. Strain into a china bowl to let it cool on ice, adding the peel. Let this rest an hour before freezing. In the meanwhile, cook the cream, eggs, and sugar as before directed, and after freezing this composition, add the syrup and finish freezing. 3 or 4 whole eggs may replace the above 6 yelks and 1 white. Lemon essence is often used instead of fruit, or all fruit is used, in strained pulp, added after freezing. Macédoine. See the several kinds under separate articles, thus entitled. Maraschino Ice Cream. Cream, 1 quart. Sugar, 3/4 pound. Yelks of eggs, 6. White of egg, 1. Maraschino, Marasquin, 2 wine glassfuls. This cordial has a cherry flavor, and consequently may be imitated with that fruit in syrup. Mixed Ice Creams. The Sorbetti Misti of the Italians and Variante variety of the French ice cream makers. Pleasing combinations for eye and palate are made by placing in contrast in one dish or glass or in bars served in paper envelopes, not only 2 or more kinds of water ices or ice creams, but an ice or two with an ice cream or two. The national colors are thus easily displayed. The simplest and commonest are lemon or strawberry water ice and vanilla ice cream, put in a glass or dish beside each other or one above the other. When frozen in bars or slabs of alternating colors, they are called harlequins, rainbows, etc. Harlequin ice cream. As the well-known Roman hero of pantomime is a man of motley, a medley of different colored ice creams was properly named after his coat of many colors. The colors are alternated by shades, one light between 2 dark, and then by colors. A further variety is gained by mixing ice creams with water ices. When not served in glasses, the harlequins are frozen in bars, usually striped across the narrow way, but this is not a rigid rule. Hokey Pokey is a simple, cheap harlequin ice cream or water ice. Josephine. Have your freezer ready in its packed pail and put in half vanilla ice cream and half lemon ice cream or water ice. Mix well and freeze in union. Named in honor of Empress Josephine of the French. Marie Louise. Into the freezer put 1 part of vanilla ice cream to 3 parts of strawberry water ice or ice cream. Named in honor of the Archduchess Marie Louise, the second wife of Napoleon I. Noisette ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, yolks of egg 6, white of egg 1, hazelnuts shelled 3 ounces, lemon peel grated instead of a pinch of salt. Blanch the nuts and pound them very fine. Thin the emulsion with half a pint of the cream to make milk of hazelnuts. With the remaining cream make the composition. Cook and combine the two. When the latter is cooled, freeze. Noyau ice cream. Noyau is a liqueur or flavor made from the kernels of peaches, apricots, etc. If not obtainable for this flavoring, made by pounding up 3 or 4 ounces of blanched peach kernels with a little cream and sugar, and put the paste thus made into the ice cream. Orange ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 1 pound, yelks of eggs 8, juice of 8 oranges, grated lemon peel instead of salt, a pinch. Instead of the orange juice, orange jelly may be used. 1 quart, if good. Fortify with the juice of 2 lemons. Cook the cream mixed with half the sugar and put this mixture cooled in the freezer ready for freezing. Put the rest of the sugar into the fruit juice with some grated orange peel and stir into a syrup while boiling. Take off, strain, and cool on ice before adding to the cream. Freeze all. Orange flower ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 1 pound, yolks of egg 6, white of egg 1, orange flower water 1/2 ounce. Make the cream, sugar, and eggs into the composition as before directed, cool and frozen. Add the flavoring at the finish and finally freeze a little more. As the imparted orange flower water is expensive, you can make at home the following substitute. With 4 or 5 drops of oil of neroli in a quart of water, corrected with half a teaspoonful of carbonate of magnesia, orange flower water for flavoring is inexpensively made. This is used in orgeat ice cream, the following recipe. Orgeat ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, yelks of eggs 6, white of egg 1, blanched almonds 3 ounces, bitter almonds 1 ounce, to flavor, orange flower water 1/2 ounce. The true orgeat barley syrup is made of barley sugar, almonds, and water. Color a pale green. Make the cream and add the milk of almonds. Strain before freezing, as in the process of making water ices. Part 3, page 40. Pineapple ice cream. Philadelphia. Cream 1 quart, sugar 1 pound. Pineapple pulp 1/4 pound or 1 pint of juice. Juice of 2 oranges, juice of 1 lemon. Prepare the pulp, add the other juice and sugar, make a syrup and strain. Add this to the cream when frozen and freeze to the finish. With 4 whole eggs or 5 yelks and 1 white, the same will be a Neapolitan pineapple ice cream. Pistachio ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, yelks of egg 6, white of egg 1, pistachio nuts shelled 3 ounces. Lemon peel grated instead of salt, a pinch. Blanch the nuts, wash, and grind them into a fine paste. If dry, work up a little cream or rose water. Add cold to the cooked cream. Run through a sieve, diluting the last portion if slow to flow. Substitute almonds for the pistachios, and use essence of almonds to strengthen the flavor, if expense is a consideration. Vanilla flavor may be used. Color a delicate green. Cherry cordial, Kirschenwasser, is sometimes the dash. Another way is to use orgeat syrup, 2 to 4 ounces, according to strength, instead of the nuts. The plain pistachio or almond ice cream has neither extra flavoring nor coloring, merely the nut paste. Ribiere's ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, eggs 6, pistachio nuts in paste 2 ounces, vanilla 1 pinch, candied peel 1/4 pound, burnt orange flowers 2 ounces, burnt violets 2 ounces. Make the ice cream as usual. Slice up the blanched nuts and the peel finely, and put them with the burnt flowers into the cream when it is nearly frozen. As the whole of the eggs are used, be careful in cooking, lest thickening takes place too rapidly. Roman ice cream, à la Romaine. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, yolks of eggs 6, white of egg 1, whipped cream 1/3 quart, citron 2 ounces, ground mace 1/2 teaspoonful, orange flower water 12 drops. Make as before directed. The whipped cream is to be added when the freezing is done. Rose ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, extract rose 1 teaspoonful. Rose water may be used. 4 or 5 drops of real otto of roses in a quart of water will make it. Deepen the tint with carmine and use a gill. Flavor the cream before boiling. Cook and freeze as usual. Rose water ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, yolks of egg 6, white of egg 1, rose water 1 gill. Make the composition as before directed, and put in the flavor at the final freezing. If found too sweet and unctuous, try less sugar next time. Strawberry, crushed, ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, eggs 2. Mix and stir on the fire while cooking to the boiling point. Strain through a hair sieve into a bowl to cool. When cool, put into the freezer and freeze. Have ready 1 quart of cleaned, fresh, ripe strawberries. Mash in 6 ounces of powdered sugar, and add this pulp to the frozen cream. Some dash the fruit with a little lemon juice. Finish freezing. Tea ice cream. The model for all liqueur, cordial, and wine ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, yolks of egg 6, white of egg 1. Liqueur de thé, tea cordial, 2 wine glasses. The fresh tea flavoring is obtained by infusing 2 teaspoonfuls of the leaf in warm cream for 5 minutes, and running through the hair sieve. If the liqueur is used, it is added at the finish of the freezing. Vanilla ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, yolks of egg 6, white of egg 1, vanilla 1/4 stick, lemon peel 1 pinch. Vanilla sugar or syrup may be used instead of the bean or stick. Proceed as in other creams. The Philadelphia style excludes the eggs. Variety, Variante ice cream. Cream 1 quart, sugar 3/4 pound, yolks of egg 6, white of egg 1, grated lemon peel 2 ounces, vanilla powdered 1 pinch. Sliced blanched nuts, preserved cherries, preserved apricots, preserved citron, all minced or sliced thin, of each a ½ ounce. The finely sliced fruit and nuts are added to the frozen cream just before the freezing operation is finished. This is of the Macédoine, or composite fruit and ice cream style, which see. Whipped cream. If the cream is not double (see cream), it will not froth up without deposit. Use a large shallow bowl, set in ice, and whisk into a stiff, firm froth. Skim and put the skimmings into a sieve to drain. Put what comes through back into the bowl and beat up again, and thus continue until all is beaten up. To each quart of cream allow a ½ pound of fine powdered sugar, or confectioner's red sugar, may be sprinkled on the unsweetened cream. This is used for dressing, finishing off, filling, and sauce. White ice cream, crème blanche. Cream, 1 quart; sugar, ¾ pound; yelks of eggs, 4; white of egg, 1; grated lemon peel to cover, a dime. Make the cream as directed, putting the white with the yelk, or better, whipping both into a froth with a little of the sugar added when almost done. The rest of the sugar is mixed in well when the freezing is nearly finished. This is a good body for mixture with the strongly flavored mixed ice creams, which see the true white cream, or crème blanche, is the Philadelphia ice cream, to which refer. End of section 4.
Section 5 of the Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by David Bocuti. Part 3. Water Ices. Water ices are distinguished from ice creams by the absence of cream and eggs. The French call them glace aux fruits à l'eau, fruit water ices, or fruit-flavored ices. Another name is granite, in allusion to their gritty, stony, or granulated taste and hardness, to which the unappreciative object. For them are therefore made unctuous and smooth ices by using an undue proportion of sugar. When ices are perfection, the composition resembles hard snow or sleet, sweetened, perfumed, and flavored. The components are water, fruit juices, cordials, and wines and sugar. The freezing is done in the ice cream freezer. The same admixture of half and half broken ice and salt is used. Although hard as crystal, water ices will melt quickly, even in the mouth of the freezer. When they are to be eaten alone, they should be more rich with fruit juice and sugar than when served with ice cream. They can be made so plain as to be merely frozen sweet water. In the kinds where it is not desirable that the ice should present a clear, transparent look, 1 white of egg to a quart of the frozen composition, well beaten up in a teaspoonful of powdered sugar, may be added. As for kisses, meringues, which see. The process of making water ices. Unless you have your syrup ready, make it by boiling the sugar and water, skimming to clear. Strain while hot through a fine sieve or a doubled gauze cloth and allow to cool. The flavor is now added before the fruit juice and other ingredients in the freezer, to which the chilled syrup has been transferred. Pack the freezer in its pail with salted ice as for ice cream freezing. Cover and fasten the lid hermetically with a greased cloth. The turning to freeze takes longer than for ice cream, by 15 or 20 minutes. To ripen, let it rest for 2 or 3 hours before sending in to the table. Frapper is to partially freeze like snow as compared with sleet. Thus are treated wines, absinthe, and some of the ices. The syrups for different fruits vary according to the firmness of their flesh. Pears, pines, and the citron sort require a syrup of 18 to 25 degrees by the aerometer. Plums, apricots, nectarines, 30 to 42 degrees. Roughly 22 to 25 degrees for one and all. All are made by dissolving the sugar in water. Fruit jellies may be used instead of fruit syrups when known to be genuine. They are dissolved in hot water and added, cooled, to the mixture in the freezer. When jellies are used, take double the quantity prescribed for syrups. Fruits differ so much in size and juice yielding that experience alone will teach the quantity required. 3 or 4 average lemons or oranges will furnish a gill of juice, 1 pineapple a pint, raspberries or strawberries, 3 pints of pulp to make a pint of juice, and peaches about the same. The canned pulp is usually rather acid, the French fruit and syrup very sweet. Apple water ice. To 1 quart of water and 1 pound of sugar, add 3 gills of apple juice or 1 1/2 pints apple jelly. Strain and freeze. Apricot water ice. Select fruit enough to make 1/3 of a quart of pulp, which may have been mashed with the paddle or a silvered spoon through a sieve over a china bowl. Add juice of 1 lemon after working in 1 to 1 1/4 pounds of sugar, according to the acidity of the fruit, with 1 quart of water, Unless syrup is used, sugar to water 1 pound to 1 quart. After letting this mixture stand for a minute, strain through a sieve and freeze. Tint with carmine and gold colorings, which see. Chablis, sugar or thick syrup 1 pound. Strawberry juice 1 pint. Wine 1 or 2 small wine glasses. Mix the sugar or syrup and the fruit juice, which together make about a quart, and freeze. The wine is added at the finish of the freezing. Some add to the wine a half gill of Kirschenwasser. Cherry water ice. Sugar 5 pounds. Water 7 pounds, of which make a syrup taking 1 quart. Apricot pulp 1 quart. Having made the pulp by forcing the mashed fruit through a sieve over a glazed bowl with a paddle or silver spoon, flavor with a little lemon juice, and allow to stand a little before straining. Freeze. Some of the kernels of the stones are brayed in the mortar, rinsed with some syrup, and the whole strained, to be added to the nearly frozen mixture to give a flavoring. Citron water ice, au cedrat. Flavor the syrup, composed of 1 pound of sugar to 1 quart of water, with half a preserved citron, candied citron peel, sliced up or boiled up in it. Peel 3 lemons and squeeze out the juice, letting it stand for a while before straining, and add it to the flavored syrup. Strain again, cool, and place in the freezer to be frozen. Currant and raspberry water ice. Mash the fruit, 1 part raspberry to 3 of currants, through the sieve, until you have a pint of juice. Mix this with 1 pound of sugar, dissolved in the juice of half a lemon, or with the syrup, 1 pound to 1 quart of water. Coloring with carmine, if it requires a deeper tint. Strain through a sieve into a bowl, cool, and pour into the freezer and freeze. If you want to color after the freezing, mix the coloring with a little of the composition and work in smoothly. Grape water ice. Grapes to make juice, 1 pint. Sugar, 2 pounds. Water, 1½ quarts. Mash the fruit and force through a sieve. Mix with the sugar and water dissolved into the syrup. If the grapes are very sweet, temper with juice of half a lemon strained. Freeze. If you use white grapes, tint a pale green with spinach green or vert végétal, for which see coloring. Lemon water ice. Make a syrup of sugar and water, 1 quart of the latter to 1 pound of the former, or more in case the lemon is very sour. Make a half pint of lemon juice and half as much orange juice, and mix the two, or you may use the same quantity all lemon juice, fortifying with lemon essence if needed. Mix the juice with the syrup and let it stand an instant before straining through a sieve, cooling and freezing. Some add a gill of cream, but it may give a milky or cloudy look, though this is sometimes wanted for effect, as compared with a transparent yellow like topaz. Sometimes grated lemon peel is added to the syrup. Maraschino, Marasquin, water ice. In 1 quart of syrup, made of sugar 1 pound, to water 1 quart, mash the inside flesh of 2 or 3 lemons. Strain, as you finish, into a bowl to be poured cool into the freezer. When the freezing is nearly completed, put in 2 wine glasses of maraschino. As this is a cherry cordial, it may be imitated with cherries, for which see cherry water ice. Nectarine water ice. Mash the fruit up, the stones being reserved, and force the pulp through a sieve. Mix with the syrup made of a quart of water and a pound of sugar in the proportion of 3 pints of the juice, or 3 gills of the pulp. Strain and freeze. Instead of this rare fruit, apples may be used for the foundation, and flavor given with nectarine extract. Flavor with a syrup made of soaked bruise stones. Noyau water ice. Make a fruity foundation, say, of strawberry juice or pulp mixed with syrup, and add a small wine glass full of the cordial after straining and before freezing entirely. It has a peachy flavor. Nutmeg water ice. Warm a little of the syrup, as before, 1 pound of sugar in 1 quart of water, and infuse a pinch or 2 of elderberry flowers according to strength. To this infusion, add the rest of the syrup, flavored with the juice of a lemon, tasting carefully, before using all in the freezer. Cool, put in the freezer, and freeze. Orange water ice. Flavor the syrup of 1 1/2 pounds of sugar to 1 quart of water with half an orange. Squeeze in the juice of the other portion of the orange and that of 2 lemons, strain, cool on ice, and put in the freezer to be frozen. Grated orange peel may be added to the syrup before straining. Blood orange water ice. Same as orange water ice, with a tinge of red produced by carmine. Properly, the orange so named should be used. Parfait amour, perfect love, water ice. The same as citron water ice, which see, tinted with pink or red. Peach water ice. A pint of the pulp is sieved and worked into the syrup of 1 to 1½ pounds of sugar to 1 quart of water, which is again strained for the freezer. A dash of lemon juice improves 1 lemon to a pint of pulp. If a pink tint is wanted, use carmine. Pêche muscade water ice. The same as peach water ice, with a little elderberry juice to give the peculiar flavor, nominally nutmeg. Pineapple water ice. Carefully core and pare the pineapples to make a pint of juice. Pound up, strain, and place in a syrup made of 1 pound of sugar to 1 quart of water. Add lemon and orange juice, 1 part to 2, to make nearly a gill, 1 lemon to 2 oranges, and let the whole stand a little while before straining through a sieve. Put into the freezer and freeze. Plum water ice. Mash and bruise a pound of stoned plums and smother in a pound of sugar. Take 10 of the kernels, bruise them, and put them in a bag, which put in the mixture to flavor it. After 20 minutes, pour the water on to dissolve the sugar and wash the flavor farther out of the kernels. Take the latter out and freeze the composition. Raspberry water ice. Mash enough ripe, high-colored berries to make 3 pints of juice, which strain upon a pound of sugar. Squeeze in a lemon's juice and put in the freezer to freeze it. Enhance the flavor with raspberry extract and then tint with the red coloring, which see. Rum water ice. To a pound of powdered sugar, 3 wine glasses of Jamaica or other fine rum. Syrup may be used for the sugar. Cut off the peel of 3 lemons carefully so that its taste will not get in, and squeeze them, straining the juice. Having frozen the syrup and lemon juice mixed in the freezer into firmness, replenish the salted ice melted away, open the freezer, and then insert the rum. If not very strong, add another glass or half as much, but bear in mind that too much spirit will prevent firm freezing. Strawberry water ice. Mash strawberries to make a pint of juice through the sieve and mix with the syrup 1 to 1½ pounds of sugar and a quart of water until the sugar, if used, is dissolved. Flavor the juice of half a lemon with orange juice or orange flower water and add it to the other. Color with carmine, strain, and freeze. Wine water ice. Strawberry pulp is run through the sieve, or the juice, 1 pint, is taken and added to a pint of the syrup. 2 or 3 small wine glasses of fine wine are selected and mixed in, and the freezing is then done. Tint with red coloring, which see. End of Section 5. Recording by David Bocuti.
Section 6 of The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by BettyB. The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices by Mrs. H. Llewellyn Williams. Iced puddings, etc. Nestle Road Iced Pudding. This is called Nestle Road, corruptedly La Nesserole, after the Russian epicure, in whose honor it was named. Boil in water enough Italian chestnuts to have 2 ounces of pulp, after pressing through a sieve. Add the same quantity by weight of powdered sugar, or strong syrup, and work them well together with a paddle. Have ready frozen some orange flower ice cream, which see, or vanilla ice cream, which see, and mix the pulp and sugar with it. In the pulp may have been mixed fruit such as raisins, currants, citron, and other preserved fruits. Or the fruit may be prepared infused, as in the Macédoine, which see. This pudding is molded as a set piece, decorated and dressed with whipped cream. Often spices are used as cloves, cinnamon, nutmeg, etc., or wines, spirits, liqueurs. As a garnish, use marron glacé, crystallized or candied chestnuts. Roasted chestnuts are boiled in hot sugar syrup and used to stud the pudding or stud its bottom edges. Iced Cabinet Pudding. Have 2 or 3 kinds of dry, crisp cakes of the macaroon or French biscuit sort, pudding fruits such as sultanas, raisins, currants, imperials, citron, peel, etc., and the materials for ice cream. Take a large pudding mold and build up halfway with alternating layers of cakes and fruit. Having well mixed up 6 or 8 eggs, add them to 1 quart of milk and half as much cream, and warm so as to dissolve half an ounce of gelatin (Nelson's, Clark's, etc., the best), and boil the whole. Stir in any flavor desired, and strain all into the partly filled mold. Cover and stand to cool, buried in salted ice, or put in the cave for 4 hours. It will freeze in less time in the freezing pail. Finish with sauce or whipped cream and serve with the same. Frozen rice. Cream, 1 gill. Rice or tapioca, 1/2 pound. Sugar, 1 ounce. Vanilla bean, 1 inch. Lemon peel grated, 1 pinch. Milk, 1 pint. Boil the rice thoroughly and slowly in the milk, flavor, and when done, take off the fire, remove the pieces of flavoring and allow to cool. Put in a dish for the table, smother with the cream whipped stiff, and set on ice to freeze. Frozen jellies. Gelatin jellies already flavored are now to be had in the stores. In our summers they will hardly set in cold water only, and the freezer, or at least a box to hold them, and be immersed in ice and salt, will be found necessary. If you have to make the jelly, do so with gelatin and water, 1 ounce to 1 pint, the latter hot to dissolve it. If no gelatin, use calf's foot jelly. Then add 3 pints of cold water, stirring till all is dissolved. Flavor with the juice of fruit and sugar, and color with the colorings described to taste. Pour into molds or glasses, and place in the ice. Frozen strawberry jelly. Strawberries, 1 quart. Gelatin, 1/2 packet. Sugar, 1/2 pound. 1 lemon. Cover the fruit with the sugar in a bowl, and cover the bowl with plain glass to stand in the sun for 2 hours. The gelatin should be thoroughly soaked for about the same time. Strain the berries, which should yield 1 1/2 pints of juice. Put on the fire, bring to the boiling point, and stir in the gelatin with the lemon juice. Strain well. Have 2 molds ready of the same shape, but one to hold but 1 quart to the others 2. Fill the former with crushed ice. Into the bottom of the 2-quart mold pour jelly to cover it half an inch. Set this mold in the ice to freeze this hard. Then, upon this layer, set the ice-filled mold evenly as regards the center of each, and pour in jelly to fill the space between the molds. Place both in the ice box or freezer. When the freezing is complete, extract the ice from the inner mold and fill it with warm water to detach it. The hollow thus left is to be filled with fresh picked strawberries, very ripe and sweet, cemented in place by the rest of the jelly. Freeze the latter and turn out into a low glass dish. Finish with a pink whipped cream edging. Fromage glacé. Iced cream cheeses, being ice cream molded into various shapes like fancy puddings, in metal molds with hinged covers. The small molds are held in one hand while the other fills them, knocking the mold on the table, in order that the composition shall settle without any air holes which would show. The better to prevent this defect, the molds are overfilled so as to squeeze firm when the lid is closed. The seams should be sealed with a buttered cloth. The ice can be a little more strongly salted than for ordinary ice cream, but still the fromage need not be too hard. They take about 2 hours to freeze sufficiently, but try to time them so they will be done in time for serving. Cover with cloth when buried in the ice to prevent the heat striking through the cover. Colored fromage. Coloring is used for effect, and is obtained by the varying hues of the ice cream, any fancy in mixtures being allowed. Do not use warm water to free the mold, as it is apt to make the composition run, but cold water to receive the mold when lifted out of the ice. If the cream sticks after a gentle tap or two, run a knife into it slantingly, and thus get a hold to dislodge it, while using the thumb to start it in movement. When turned out, take out the knife and serve the fromage on a folded napkin. Fruit imitated in ice cream. The imitation is rather conventional, as the shapes used are the confectioner's and tinsmith's ideas of a bunch of grapes, a pear, an apple, etc. The molds are in hinged halves, tin or pewter. Hold in one hand while filling with a spoon or paddle in the other. Tightly close and bury the molds in salted ice to freeze firm. A quart of the composition should fill a dozen molds. When a quantity is to be made, several cooks are better than one, as each attends to one portion of the process, filling, closing, putting in the freezing mixture, etc. Macedoines, called by the Italians tutti frutti, all kinds of fruit. Formerly and correctly, only fruit was used with an ice cream or water ice, in which the pieces were set. But recently, full freedom is given to mixtures of ices and ice creams, varying in color as well as in flavor. The fruit is often soaked in wines and other alcoholic liquors. Besides candied fruits, candied peels, angelica, ginger, mauve, marshmallow, etc., are introduced. As an innovation, our own nuts may be employed as a change from the everlasting almond. Fruit Macedoine. This differs from a Chateaubriand in having a water ice for foundation and no cream. Cut up some fruit, pears, apricots, plums, etc., and candy them in syrup, if not already crystallized. Commonly no distinction is made between candying (glacé) and crystallizing (icing) fruits, but there is a difference. In the former, fruit soaked in sweet syrup is dipped in a very thick sugar syrup and left to dry rapidly and harden in the open air. It is thus coated with a transparent deposit. The same syrup is used for icing or crystallizing, but the fruit is cooled and dried slowly in a warm chamber at 90° Fahrenheit. Soak in a mixture of maraschino and kirschwasser, 2 kinds of cherry water, which flavor may be imitated without this process, if preferred. Highly acidulate a little of the syrup with lemon juice, which is to be added only just before the final freezing, when too the fruit is intermixed with the water ice. It is served in a jelly dish as a set piece or on a napkin. Another Macedoine. Take a jelly mold and decorate the inside with whole small candied fruits, or portions of the large kinds. Fill up with lemon ice cream, or lemon water ice, in contrast by its acidity to the sweetness of the fruit, and bury the mold in salted ice. On the point of serving, stud and emboss the surface with fruit that has not been frozen, but may have been treated to immersion in some of the liqueurs. This will be in contrast to the other fruit in the ice cream. Tutti Frutti. Cut up into small pieces half a dozen kinds of crystallized fruits. Add 1 portion of nuts to make a pound together. Strew this upon a layer of 1 quart of water ice in the bottom of a mold. Pack over with the same water ice or another kind. Smooth, close and leave in the salted ice to become very hard. Turn out and serve. Fruit Medley Macedoine. Variante. The same as the second Macedoine above, except that the juice of 3 lemons is squeezed into the syrup and frozen. The almonds or pistachio nuts are quartered, and all are mingled in the cream or ices. Frozen fruit. Choose ripe fruit and firm, so as to be shapely and pleasing when in quarters, or cut into dice. Pare and so cut up. Mix with syrup of sugar and water, with flavoring desired. Equal weights of sugar and fruit to water, 1 quart to 2 pounds of the other 2. When the syrup has well saturated the fruit, or the sugar is thoroughly dissolved, put into the freezer and freeze. Frozen apricots in custard. Apricots, or similar canned fruit, 1 quart can, tin. Sugar, 1 pound. Water, 1 quart. Milk and 3 eggs for a custard. Cut the fruit into dice, mix in the syrup of the sugar and water, and freeze. When nearly frozen, pour the cold, thin custard over it. Chateaubriand. Cut up some fruit, fresh, preserved, or crystallized, and infuse it in cordials if so wished. Make a plain ice cream (see White Ice Cream) with vanilla, almond paste, or orgeat as flavoring. Put in when cold to give an almond flavor. Freeze this hard and firm. When about to serve, work in half its quantity of sweetened whipped cream. Drain the cut fruit and strew in, mixing lightly. The cream may be in a mold set in ice for this stunning process. Mount in a piece on a confectioner's shape, ice, decorate, etc. 10 or 12 ounces of nuts and various fruits will ornament 1 quart of ice cream. Iced soufflés. All the water ices will suit iced soufflé making, using the fruit juice equally by measure to the ice cream. As the fruit is more or less sweet, the proportion of sugar in the cream is altered. 1. Chateaubriand Soufflé. This is an ornamental iced dish in which fruit in portions, halves or quarters, slices or dice, chosen for color effect, is inserted or applied to the ices or ice creams just before freezing. 2. Ice cream soufflé. This is practically frozen blancmange. Mix 1 quart of fruit syrup, 2 pounds of sugar, and 7 yelks of eggs into a harmonious syrup. Then cool. Add an ounce of melted gelatin and freeze. Whip a quart of cream and beat it into the frozen composition. When firm, fill some ice pudding molds and put into the cave (étuve) for 2 hours. A cave or étuve stove is the utensil used in making biscuits glacés, which see further on. If frozen very hard, they would become the pezzo duro of the Italian confectioners. Serve with sauce or cream. Iced kisses, meringue glacée. In a cooled bowl, whisk white of egg until firm and smooth. Gradually sift in and beat in some fine powdered sugar until uniform and fit for molding into shapes, which are to hold ices or ice creams. Having molded the composition into the desired shapes, put them into a brick oven to be baked to a buff tint and firm enough for light handling. Remove the soft inside and replacing in the oven bake till dry. They are now kisses or ice cakes. But on their being filled with ice cream or water ice, or both mixed, or a mixture of either sort in its variety of flavor and color, you have meringue glacée. They were brought out in honor of Napoleon's victory at Marengo. Meringue panachée. Variegated. When the filling is varied and mottled or striped. Zèbre. Hot kisses. See among biscuits glacés. Biscuits glacés. These are a kind of egg sherbet made of eggs and sugar, with or without whipped cream, and variously flavored. They are frozen but not in the ice cream freezer. A special freezing case is used, called the étuve, stove by the French, and by us the cave. At once it freezes the whole quantity for the table, but the portions are held in separate paper cases of various shapes. The cave or freezing box is an oblong, rectangular case to take in 3 rows overlying of the biscuits, and is supplied with a deep cover, having a border ledge for the enclosure of ice to facilitate the congelation. They hold from 2 to 5 dozen, the first size suiting a family. Another shape is round with shelves inside, and in this the inner layers are as soon frozen as the top and bottom ones. To keep the biscuits apart above and below, movable shelves, metal plates slide on a ledge or stand on corner feet. This furthers the freezing. Some fill the cave by pouring the composition into paper cases, like muffin rings in size and nature, laid on the shelves in the cave, which is in the ice box. A better way is to take out the shelves and on each arrange the filled paper cases in order, with a strip of metal between each. On replacing the shelves, the lowest is put in first, and the composition leveled off to prevent touching the shelf above. Some of the shelves have metal components on their top surface, in which case they are filled direct, and the frozen bricks turned out by dipping them in cold water and reversing them. The ice box contains ice and a little more salt than for ice cream making. Keep it properly drained of the water and full of the freezing mixture. When the cave is filled and covered, the ice is spread over its cover too. The freezing takes 2 hours. Glazing the biscuits. The biscuits have to be glazed. The biscuit glaze is composed of white of 1 or 2 eggs whipped to a froth to 25 biscuits, and added to a little sugar or syrup. This is white glaze. To make red glaze, use a little fruit flavored ice cream or coloring, which see. To glaze, uncover the cave, take out the upper plate or shelf, run a small knife between the biscuits to separate them, removing the parting pieces or tongues of metal, and one after another dip each biscuit in the glaze without squeezing them out of shape. Smoothly level the glaze all around top and sides with the knife while lightly holding them, and replace in the plate. Return into the cave and cover with ice, to be ready for serving. When frozen in separate tin cases, these are immersed in cold water, and the biscuits turned out and inverted on the marble slab, where they are dusted with red confectioner's sugar and put in paper envelopes to go to table, after having been frozen for the finish in the cave. Smooth, sized, paper or thin glazed cardboard is used, about an inch deep. Lace paper frills are supplied with each set to set off the cases. French filling. Make a syrup of a pound of sugar to a gill of water over the fire and let it cool. Mix in the yelks of 6 eggs and boil till it thickens. Strain into a dish, set in ice, and beat until it becomes cold. A la Reine Biscuits Glacés. Queen Biscuits Glacés, the Italian Sorbetti alla Regina. Almond Biscuits Glacés. In the syrup before mentioned, mix a paste of almonds and the eggs, and beat, proceeding as last directed. Cream, 1 quart; sugar, ¾ pound; yelks of eggs, 6; white of egg, 1; grated lemon peel, a pinch; pounded French biscuits, 2 ounces. Cook the cream as usual, and when done, put in the dried powdered biscuits, much the same as our "lady fingers." Whip the yelks to a froth in a china bowl, set in ice. Add all but a little of the sugar, and beat up until the mass ceases to swell. Froth up the white firmly, sprinkling the rest of the sugar gradually into it until firm and smooth. Some wait till all is strained into the freezer before adding the powdered biscuit. Cool and freeze. Serve in the paper cases. Bisque. This takes its distinguishing name from the flavor put into it. Cream and sugar, 1 quart to 1/2 pound, mixed, cooked, and cooled before being put in the freezer. 2 ounces in all of dried sponge cake, macaroons, and kisses (ice cakes or meringues) are powdered and rubbed through a sieve, before being stirred into the frozen ice cream. Color and flavor. Boston Brown Bread Biscuits Glacés. Make an ice cream composition of 1 quart of cream and 3/4 of a pound of sugar to 5 or 6 eggs, or 1 white to 5 yelks, and cook and freeze as usual. Pound 2 ounces of the genuine Boston brown bread, dried, into dust, which sift and beat into the ice cream. If to be in Philadelphia style, omit the eggs. Fruit Preserved Biscuits Glacés. French, Biscuits Glacés Variante aux Confitures. Instead of the pistachios in Pistachio Biscuits Glacés, use iced, candied fruits, 1/4 pound. German Biscuits Glacés. Cook 6 to 8 yelks of eggs in a pound of sugar. Strain into a bowl, set on ice, and stir in melted gelatin. Whip up a quart of cream and stir it in. Cool, fill the cases, place in the cave, and freeze. Dress with the fruit cream or water ice, and glaze. Hot Kisses. Meringue au four. Kisses from the oven. Said to be a Japanese or Chinese invention. Any dexterous cook can manage it. Make a stiff white froth, with 6 to 8 whites of eggs, in a pound of powdered sugar, a meringue paste. Mold this into shells, as the shapes are called, and fill these with ice cream, and place on a wetted board or tin plate in a very hot oven. In 15 seconds the crust should cook a pale brown without the ices having melted. Even an ordinary oven might be successful, or try a hot salamander or shovel. Macaroon Biscuits Glacés. Cream, 1 quart; sugar, 1 pound; yelks of eggs, 8; whites of eggs, 2; macaroons, 1/2 pound. Make as for ice cream the mixture of cream, eggs, and sugar, and cook. Freeze as usual, and at the finish add the cake, powdered, and any flavoring. After the same manner make Bitter Macaroon Biscuits Glacés. Same weight of macaroons as before. Flavor with bitter almonds. Maraschino Biscuits Glacés. Follow the directions for Vanilla Biscuits Glacés, flavoring with maraschino. Noyeau Biscuits Glacés. Same as Vanilla Biscuits Glacés, with noyeau flavoring. Orange Flower Biscuits Glacés. Made in the same manner as Vanilla Biscuits Glacés, with the change in the flavor indicated by the name. A wineglassful of the orange flower cordial will not be too much. Pistachio Biscuits Glacés. Variante au pistache. Proceed as for the vanilla biscuits glacés, and mincing the blanched nuts very finely and lightly, add them to the composition. Royaux Biscuits Glacés. Whites of eggs 5, sugar 1 pound, whipped cream 1 quart, maraschino 2 wine glasses. Into a pan, with a little water to dissolve it, put the sugar and bring it to the boiling point. Meanwhile whip the whites to a froth. If the sugar is already boiling, take it off and cover with a damp cloth, or sprinkle a little sugar on it, to prevent a crust forming, which would crystallize in your composition. The froth being stiff, pour it into the syrup gradually, stirring with a paddle until all is in, and it is cool. This may be quickened by setting the vessel in ice. Sweeten 2 quarts of whipped cream with 2 pounds of sugar, stirring it to keep it from falling to the bottom. Add this to the other, and to them the maraschino. Vanilla Biscuits Glacés. Material for 25 biscuits. Yelks of eggs 4 to 5. Syrup 1 quart. Whipped cream 3/4 quart. Powdered vanilla to flavor. Instead of syrup, it can be made with sugar and water. Dilute the yelks with the syrup in a pan, put over a low fire or in a farina boiler. Better. Keep stirring until the mixture coats the paddle, as in cooking the cream for ice cream. Take off the fire, pour through the sieve into a porous unglazed pan, kept expressly for this purpose. Set this in the ice. Whip the composition with a white wood whisk until thoroughly frothed and firm. Sweeten the whipped cream and put in the vanilla. Mix it lightly and pour the composition into the cases to be put into the cave. End of section 6. Section 7 of the Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by BettyB. The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices by Mrs. H. Llewellyn Williams. Iced Beverages, Part 1. Ice water in decanters. Carafe frappé. Frappé, French, is to freeze, and carafe is a decanter in which water is sent to table in Europe, frozen within, instead of ice being inserted. The American double ice pitcher is not known abroad. The ice is prepared in a pail with less salt than for ice cream making, and the decanters are buried only to 2/3. The ice then forms at the bottom first, and the displaced water rises. Otherwise the glass is apt to break. Wine in bottles is similarly frappé, or chilled. Uncork and leave in the ice for 10 minutes. Absinthe. Absinthe, 1/2 wine glassful. Gum Arabic syrup, 1 tablespoonful. Water, 1 wine glassful. Shake up the ingredients in a large glass with some crushed or shaved ice. Iced Barberade. Mix equal parts of coffee and milk and chocolate, and freeze in the freezer to the consistency liked. Iced Bavaroise. Bavaroise are a warm or cold beverage for any time, made of a tea-like infusion, sweetened always with capillary syrup, originally maidenhair fern, commonly known as orange flower flavor. Almond. Sweeten milk, with or without tea, according to taste, with orgeat syrup, and freeze. Chocolate. Make a thin cup of chocolate with milk or cream and freeze. Greek style. Squeeze out of fully ripe strawberries, the juice of which add 1 part to 2 of lemon juice and water to make a drink of it. Sweeten with sugar or fancy syrup. Cool and serve. Orgeat, barley water. Prepare orgeat with boiling water, or pour upon 1 part of fresh orgeat in a decanter 6 parts of water, and cool in the ice pail. Orgeat and milk. To the orgeat last directed add the same quantity of milk. Bishop. See Cold Punch. Iced claret cup. The model for cups. Use a bowl. For 3 persons mix claret, or any other wine preferred, 1 pint, brandy, 1 gill, curaçao, 1 gill, juice of lemons, 2, syrup flavored, 1/2 wine glass, water, 1 gill, sugar to taste. The syrup has a fruit or other flavor, and a slice or two of lemon, orange, or lime is floated in the bowl. Freeze a little or put a block of clear ice in the bowl. Club Claret Cup. Sugar, 3 tablespoonfuls. Claret, 1 quart. Lemons, juice of 2. Club soda, 1 bottle. Red Curacao, 1 sherry glassful. Cucumber slices, several. Half fill a pitcher with fine broken ice. Stir in all the above ingredients except the claret, which is to be poured in last. Stir again and garnish each glass with mint and strawberries or other decorative fruit. Iced Cobbler. Whiskey or sherry, 2 wineglassfuls. Sugar, 2 tablespoonfuls. Syrup, flavored, a little. Water, 1 wineglassful. Make a syrup of the sugar in the water. Stir that with the fruit syrup, currant, raspberry, etc., and add the spirits. Fill up with ice and shake well, or freeze a little after stirring. This is imbibed with straws like juleps. Claret, the home wines, or champagne can be used. Iced brandy cocktail. Pour into a tumbler containing fresh mint and a squeeze of lemon peel, some brandy and crushed ice, and shake well. Coffee frozen. Called in French café mousseux, i.e. frothed or foaming coffee, or café frappé à la glace, iced or chilled coffee. Sweeten coffee with syrup, 1/2 pound sugar to 1 quart water, and 1 white of egg mixed. Put into the freezer and freeze. Froth up for 10 minutes and serve. Cold punch. Bishop. White wine, 1 quart. Sugar, 2/3 pound. Kirschwasser, 1 wineglassful. 1 lemon cut in slices. Mix all together and frappé, chill, or more thoroughly freeze. The white wine may be Chablis or Champagne, or a red wine, as Bordeaux, may be used, and cognac may be substituted for Kirschwasser. In this case, dash with a little maraschino before freezing. Crémolata or Crêponnet. A frappé or half congealed beverage to which fruity or floral flavor and perfume are given. The packing for the freezer is less salty than for ice cream making. Take the lemonade, orangeade, or whatever the liquor is, and put it into the freezer, and as with one hand you turn the freezer, with the other holding the paddle you detach the freezing formations until you have the mass partly frozen like snow and water. All the fruit syrup flavors are used in this way. Crêponnet. See Crémolata above. Iced Crusta. Brandy, 1/2 wineglassful. Sugar, 1 teaspoonful. Lemon, 1/2. Slice the peeled half lemon very thinly, smother each piece in powdered sugar, and cover the bottom of a champagne glass with them. Put in some cracked ice, pour on gently the brandy, whiskey, gin, etc., as the case may be. Flavor with lemon juice and orange bitters. Stir. Freeze till there are little congealed patches on the sides of the glass, and serve. Frozen Eggnog. Eggs, 6. Brandy, 1 quart. Sugar, 1 pound. Rum, ½ pint. Milk, 3/4 gallon. Beat the eggs and sugar thoroughly, and place with the other ingredients in large punch bowl to be well mixed. Freeze in the ice box. Ornament with red and white sugar. Sprinkle with nutmeg, and serve. Iced Fires. Spirits, brandy, whiskey, etc., 1 wineglassful. Sugar, 1 tablespoonful. Syrup, flavored. Juice of 1 lemon. In a large glass stir the ingredients mentioned after filling nearly full with ice. Deck with a strawberry or 2, slices of fruit, etc. This is drunk through straws like a julep. Iced Fizz. Properly speaking, fizz is champagne, but the name is applied to effervescing drinks. Whiskey, 1 wineglassful. Sugar, 1 tablespoonful. Juice, 1/2 lemon. Seltzer water, 1 bottle. Mix the sugar, lemon juice, and spirits in a large glass. Add some crushed ice, fill up with seltzer water, strain quickly, and serve. Iced Flip. Brandy, 2 wineglassfuls. Egg, 1. Sugar, 1 tablespoonful. Syrup, flavored, 1 tablespoonful. In a large glass put the above and fill up with cracked ice. Shake well and strain before serving. The flavor is of fruit or vanilla, and grated nutmeg may be the finish. Iced Julep. Brandy, 1 1/2 wineglassfuls. Sugar, 1 tablespoonful. Rum, a little. Water, 1 wineglassful. Ice crushed, 1 wineglassful. This is a model for all juleps. Into a large glass, put the water and sugar and squeeze a sprig of fresh mint in them, taking it out when the flavor is imparted. Pour in the brandy and ice, which shake well. Put in a slice of orange or pineapple, or both with the mint, to look pretty, a spoonful of rum, sprinkle with sugar, and send to table. Juleps are imbibed through straws. Instead of the crushed ice, you can partly freeze them like other frozen beverages. Iced lemonade. Rub ripe lemons with a handful of granulated sugar or lump sugar to extract the essential aromatic oil in the rind. Slice and throw the fruit into cold water, varying in quantity as you want a clear drink or a syrup-like one. Sweeten to taste. Some cut the fruit in half and squeeze out the juice. Others slice very fine and soak the pieces in water. Again, the peeled fruit may be boiled, by which means the juice is most thoroughly extracted. If the fruit is sliced with the peel on, a marked bitterness is given, which is not to everybody's taste. It is more agreeable flavored with the sugar rubbed on the rind. 3 lemons should suffice for a quart of water, and the juice of a couple of ripe oranges is thought an improvement. Sweeten to taste. Some use cooled boiled water in which the fruit and sugar are put, or pour on the boiling water, or again without any material difference, the boiling water is poured on the juice of the oranges and lemons. For a quickly made glass, put powdered sugar in a tumbler, squeeze half a lemon's juice upon it, incorporate them, fill nearly full with water, add some shavings of ice, clap on the metal shaker used by bartenders, or another tumbler a little larger in the mouth so as to enclose its orifice, and shake violently. This may be dashed with sherry or other wine or cordials. Nearly always lemonade is improved with a little lemon essence. Iced citric lemonade. Citric acid in powder, 3 pennyweight. Sugar powdered, 1 ounce. Lemon essence, 3 pennyweight. Iced water, 1 quart. The acid and sugar intermixed will keep in well-stoppered bottles. Salts of sorrel can be used for the acid as above, or for the same amount of sugar, oxalic acid, 30 grains. To moderate the acid, gum arabic syrup can be used with the water, or its powder put with the acid and sugar dry. The gum sold by foreign liquor merchants is this gum arabic syrup. Iced milk lemonade. Sugar, 1 pound. Juice of lemon, 1 gill. Milk, 1 pint. Water, 3/4 quart. Boil the water and dissolve the sugar in it. Flavor with the lemon juice, add the milk, and chill in the ice box. Iced syrup lemonade. Syrup of lemon. Lime juice sweetened, 1 ounce. Iced water, 1/2 pint. This is not so agreeable as real lemon juice. Iced tartaric lemonade. This is called sherbet in England, the compound of tartaric acid and sugar being sold mixed for use. This must be kept dry or it will not effervesce. Tartaric acid, cream of tartar in powder, 1 ounce. Sugar, powdered, 2 1/2 pound. Lemon essence, 1 ounce. Iced water, as much as is wanted. Mix the acid and sugar, both very dry, and put 2 teaspoonfuls in a tumbler. Flavor the water with lemon extract and nearly fill the tumbler. The acid will effervesce and the beverage must be drunk instantly. If allowed to get still, it is very flat and mawkish. Iced lemon squash. In a tumbler, with or without sugar as you like acidity, mash half a peeled lemon. On this pour a bottle of iced seltzer or bottled lemonade. Iced cream nectar. Sugar, powdered or granulated, 2 pounds. Tartaric acid, 2 1/2 ounce. Whites of eggs, 2. Water, 2 quarts. Boil the water and dissolve the sugar and acid in it. Beat up the whites of eggs and put into a bottle, in which shake it up with a little of the warm syrup. Add this to the hot syrup in the pan and boil for several minutes, skimming all the time till clear. Flavor with vanilla, lemon, etc. For use, put half a teaspoonful of bicarbonate of soda in a tumbler, pour on it 2 or 3 tablespoonfuls of the syrup, fill up with a little crushed ice and cold water, or half freeze in the ice box. Orangeade or orange water. Peel a ripe orange and slice it thinly into a vessel with water to make a beverage with the following addition. Squeeze out the juice of 2 more oranges and 1 lemon and beat these up together. Strain and mix the 2 liquids by tossing them from one tumbler to another. If the water be chilled or shaved ice be put in the tumblers for the shaking up, it will be a most agreeable summer drink. Frozen Rhine Wine. In a large glass put Rhine wine to half fill it, and ice with which to chill it. Fill up with seltzer water or siphon lemonade, or freeze in the ice box before adding the cooled seltzer from the ice box. Roman Punch. Simple. To lemon ice cream, add a froth of 2 whites of eggs slightly sweetened. Pour in and mix in 3 wine glasses of rum. Another. To 1/2 pint of rum and as much or twice as much champagne, add a froth of ice cream, or water ice, with no color that would show. Sweeten the cream with powdered sugar or with syrup, boiled to the boul, or balling point, 1 pound in 1 pint of water, beating slowly until cold. Before serving, some beat in the champagne. Pour all into glasses, cooled to prevent their breaking. If pineapple rum be used, sharpen with lemon water ice. Iced Rum Punch. In 3 parts of good old rum, mix 1 part of lemon juice, flavored with lemon peel soaked in it for a while. On the mixture pour 9 parts of good tea and sweeten to taste. Put it in an ice cream freezer and freeze to the degree desired. The other kinds, with East Indian arrack, red wines or champagne, are made in the same way. Iced Sangaree. Sugar, 1 teaspoonful. Water, 1/2 wineglassful. Brandy, 1/2 wineglass. Ice in a piece. According to the flavor desired, use a French syrup or fruit. Color with carmine to a blood tint, except the gin or pale wine Sangaree. Mix the ingredients with a piece of ice in them. Sherbet. Properly speaking, sherbet is a cool drink, more or less effervescent, or at least sparkling. The Turks and Greeks use snow instead of ice. The Italians, however, term all ices and ice creams sorbetti, sherbets. The English give the name to the simple effervescent tartaric acid in sugar mixed with chilled water, and also playfully to all liquors. The sherbet of Italian and Parisian confectioners, sorbet, is a soft water ice rich with sugar. A. 4 fruits sherbet. In strawberry, currant, or raspberry ice cream, put a little ratafia aux 4 fruits. B. Italian sherbet. Take a quart of peach, apple, apricot, etc. pulp, and mix it with 1 to 1½ pounds of sugar and a pint of orange juice flavored with lemon juice. Strain the mixture, put into the freezer, cool, and freeze. Color pink or rose with red coloring, which see. C. Maraschino sherbet. Using the paddle, mix maraschino in a dish with an ice cream, plain, vanilla, or white, which see. D. Noyeau sherbet. Same as maraschino. E. Rum sherbet. In the same way as above, blend a lemon ice cream with rum. Iced smashes. Sugar, 1 teaspoonful. Water, 1 teaspoonful. Brandy, 1 wineglass. Ice, crushed. In a large glass, mix the water and sugar and press some mint to give a flavor. Pour in the brandy, whiskey, rum, or other spirits as desired. Add the ice, shake thoroughly, strain, but decorate with the mint and a slice of lemon or pineapple. May be frozen a little in the ice box. Iced sours. The foundation is half a lemon's juice in half a wineglassful of water, a little sugar, for it must be tart, not sweet, and the spirits chosen, as gin, rum, brandy, etc. Fill up the glass with cracked ice. Strain after stirring. End of section 7. Section 8 of The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by BettyB. The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices by Mrs. H. Llewellyn Williams. Iced Beverages, Part 2. Ice making and ice keeping. As there are occasions when ice is wanted, At any cost, for the sake of health or luxury, various machines for making it have been constructed, but for the most part they are for production on a large scale, and beyond the needs and means of the family. But as the crude chemicals used for freezing mixtures, refrigerants or frigorifics, can usually be obtained at a reasonable cost, wherever there is a druggist, the recipes for a number of these substitutes for ice are here given. The apparatus they require is simple and usually in the house already. Freezing mixtures. Great care must be exercised in the handling of these compounds, into which acids and caustics enter, and which sometimes send out fumes hurtful to breathe. When, however, the noxious hydrochloric acid is in union with sulfate of soda, the odor is killed by it. At the same time, with care and a reasonable amount of intelligence, fortunately abounding in the American housewife, the great good derived amply compensates for any slight trouble. The production of cold in this way is easily explained. Solid bodies cannot pass into a liquid form, without absorbing heat from the substances with which they come into contact. The names in chemistry are given, but they need not alarm any lay reader, as they are simple salts and common acids, but these names are used by druggists and are generally understood by the workmen handling them. Recipes. All parts by weight. A. 6 parts of sulfate of soda, Glauber salts, 4 hydrochlorate of ammonia, 2 hydrochlorate of potash, and 4 of nitric acid. This will lower the temperature more than 30 degrees. B. 5 parts hydrochlorate of ammonia, 5 nitrate of potash, and 10 of water, making about the temperature of the common ice cream freezing mixtures of salt and ice. C. 5 parts of hydrochlorate of ammonia, 5 nitrate of potash, 8 sulfate of soda, and 16 water. D. Nitrate of ammonia and water, equal parts. E. Sulfate of soda, Glauber salts, and diluted nitric acid, 3 to 2 parts. F. 6 parts sulfate of soda, 4 hydrochlorate of ammonia, 2 nitrate of potash, and 4 diluted nitric acid. G. 6 parts sulfate of soda, 5 nitrate of ammonia, 4 diluted nitric acid. H. 9 parts phosphate of soda and 4 diluted nitric acid. I. 9 parts phosphate of soda, 6 nitrate of ammonia, 4 diluted nitric acid. K. 8 parts sulfate of soda and 5 hydrochloric acid. L. 5 parts sulfate of soda and 4 diluted sulfuric acid. M. 5 phosphate of soda, 3 nitrate of ammonia, 4 diluted nitric acid. N. 57 parts hydrochlorate of potash, 33 of ammonia, 10 of soda, making 100 parts. Shake briskly in 4 parts of water, and the temperature will drop from 20 degrees above zero to 5 below. A saline mixture in the same proportions will produce the same effect. Ice with chemicals, for excessive cold. Besides obtaining a coldness valuable for the confectioner and family, with plain chemical compounds as shown, these again may be mixed with snow or pounded ice to increase their natural coldness. The salts that liquefy and various acids are used as follows, and the list is arranged to show the amount of cold attained, the least powerful refrigerants being first given and that producing the maximum amount of cold at the last. A. Snow or pounded ice and diluted sulfuric acid, 4 to 5 parts. This lowers the temperature nearly 10 degrees. B. The same in the proportion of 3 to 2 parts, a little colder. C. The ordinary ice cream freezing mixture, equal parts of common salt, hydrochlorate of sodium, and snow or ice. Some put a quart of salt to the ice to fill the outer vessel of a 5 or 6 quart freezer. D. Snow and diluted nitric acid, equal parts, or E. Snow and diluted sulfuric acid, 3 to 2 parts. Either lowers 20 degrees. F. Snow and hydrochlorate of lime, in crystals, 1 to 3 parts. G. Snow, 8 parts, diluted sulfuric acid, 3, diluted nitric acid, 5. H. Snow 5 parts, and hydrochlorate of soda and hydrochlorate of ammonia, each 1 part. I. If you will mix the compound of 2 parts snow to 3 of hydrochlorate of lime, with that of 7 parts of snow to 4 nitric acid at the same temperature, the cold will be intensified. K. Snow 24 parts, hydrochlorate of soda 10, hydrochlorate of ammonia 5, nitrate of potash 5. L. Snow and hydrochloric acid 8 to 5 parts. M. Snow and diluted nitric acid 7 to 4 parts. N. Snow and hydrochlorate of lime 4 to 3 parts. O. The same with proportions reversed, i.e. 3 to 4 parts, is somewhat colder. P. Snow and hydrochlorate of lime in crystals 4 to 5 parts. Q. Sulfate of soda 6 parts, hydrochlorate of ammonia 4, hydrochlorate of potash 2, and nitric acid 4. R. Snow and hydrochlorate of lime in crystals 2 to 3 parts. S. Snow and potash 3 to 4 parts, the same result. T. Mix the mixture R, i.e. 2 parts snow to 3 of hydrochlorate of lime, with 1 made of 1 part snow and 2 of the hydrochlorate of lime, and the cold will be twice as great. U. 8 parts of snow and 10 weakened sulfuric acid, and the maximum of low temperature will be reached, 33 degrees below zero for such refrigerants. Family Chemical Freezer. This simple apparatus is for the use of the freezing mixtures described. It consists of an interior case of tin or other metal for the water ice or ice cream composition to be frozen, and an outer case, also of metal, say tin, for the freezing mixture, which will surround the former case. The whole is wrapped round with an old blanket, rug, carpet, or woolen cloth. The larger the inner vessel in circumference, the more surface is exposed to the freezing action and the quicker the result. Every 15 or 20 minutes the freezing mixture should be renewed, but the congelation will be completed in 40 minutes. Note: work in a cool place. Have the freezing compound in the ice cream composition cooled. Every time the renewal of the freezing mixture is made, plunge the inner vessel into a temporary container filled with the excess of the freezing mixture left from the previous operation. This same waste will continue for a long time chilly enough to cool wine or water in bottles and decanters immersed. Ice from sulfuric acid. You will need an oak box measuring inside 14 1/4 inches in length, 3 1/4 in width, and 6 1/4 in height. 2 tin boxes alike rectangular, but 1 1/4 inches only in length, 1 inch wide and 7 inches high. The wooden case is to hold the freezing mixture, the metal ones the water to be converted into ice. This freezing mixture is composed of 7 parts of sulfuric acid to 5 parts of water, both by weight. When the mixture is made, there will be a remarkable escape of heat, and the temperature of the liquor will rise considerably. Consequently, the water must be poured upon the acid, or the acid put into the water, as the case may be, with a slow and steady movement. A strong earthenware vessel, which will not break, must be used. When the temperature cools down to that of the air around, the mixture is ready for use. Operations. Having put the quantity of 1 1/2 pounds of the liquor into the wooden case, you should instantly add 4 pounds of sulfate of soda, Glauber's salts. Stir all with a stick, and plunge into it the 2 tin boxes, ready filled with pure water. Place the 2 boxes so that they will not quite touch the inside of the case, and then the acid and salt mixture can freely circulate around them. The effect is that of a lowering of the temperature by 13 or more degrees. In 10 minutes' time, the water in the tin boxes will begin to be agitated, and icicles will form soon on the inside. 15 minutes afterwards the water in the boxes and the freezing mixture will be at the same temperature, and then the latter will no longer be useful for continuing the operation. A quantity of the fresh mixture must fill the case again, and the tin boxes be once more put in it. The icy particles will soon enlarge and cling to the inner side, from which they must be carefully but easily knocked off by pressing the metal sides in a little. This will go directly into contact with the metal and receive the chill straight. This act is of the utmost importance, for the success of the operation depends almost entirely upon it. Generally, before the end of 50 minutes, the water will be frozen. If not, which is contrary to the natural result, a third bath must be made and the work gone over with as twice before. Each of the tin boxes will then contain a brick of ice, solid and most pure, weighing about 1.5 pounds. General remarks. In the summer time it will be better to prepare the mixture in a cellar, where the constant temperature is low. Use water drawn from a cool well, and store the acid and sulfate of soda in the same cellar beforehand. The several stages of the work require caution, as drops of the freezing compound should not fly upon the clothes, and must not touch the face; they would burn them. 1 drop of this diluted sulphuric acid, remember, entering the eyes, would be almost deadly. See that the sulfate of soda is sound and without effervescence, as this spent it would have no strength and the work would fail. To preserve the ice transiently, wrap in a blanket or pack in straw and keep in the coolest place you can find. To make ice at any time in quantity. Mix 5 pounds of sulfate of soda and 4 pounds of sulphuric acid in a cask, and plunge into it at once a metal or earthen vessel full of water. 2 other like quantities of the mixture are to be ready for the renewal of the bath, by which repetition the water will be frozen. If a larger quantity were used, the congelation would take place immediately, for, with the amount stated, the barrel and the vessel contribute some of their heat to the liquor. The cold is due to the heat in the water being absorbed by the sulfate of soda, on its uniting with the sulphuric acid and liquefying. The waste can be soaked up by soda, and the whole evaporated till a thin crust is left, which is sulfate of soda, for use next time. If it dries in masses, you must powder it. Ice houses. An ice house is one in which ice is stored in winter to be used in summer, and where perishable edibles are preserved, and butter and milk prevented from spoiling. When the ground is suitable, its construction is not costly. It should be wholesome and damp free, always comprising air of a temperature at which ice will not melt, shut off from communication with the outer air, even when entered to take out the ice or edibles needed for daily consumption, and yet ventilated and aerated with dry air. In Europe, reliance is placed upon strong, thick-walled buildings, usually on shaded sites, and our old-fashioned farmers still choose caves in hillsides or in dark glens where spring water runs convenient for cooling the ice house. Neither the solid building nor the cold water is indispensable. It has been found, too, that it was a mistake to try to make the room air-tight, as that heated the air closely enclosed, and the ice became softened into snow on the surface. If the pit containing the pile of ice or snow were too deep, another fault was committed, as the earth is warmer the lower one penetrates, and again the ice was exposed to the thaw. The natural ice house is a dry cavern, shaded, and yet with the underbrush so cleared out from among the trees as to allow circulation of air. Man imitates this arrangement by building of massive stone blocks a cell or chamber with as few breaks as possible, vaulting it over, and covering the roof with clay, and that with earth, which is sodded. A plantation of trees ensures the desired shade. These trees, as well by their leaves as by their roots, keep down the temperature. If a ditch, more or less, surrounds the ice house, it must be well clayed to prevent any leakage, and the water should always run to keep up the coolness. The freshly laid masonry must be completely dried before the ice is put in. The least moisture anywhere falls in vapor upon the ice if there are no air holes and no draft. The less melting, the less necessity of having a drainage pit and waste water channel. Either snow or ice, or a mixture of both, can be packed away in the house. For the storage, choose fine, clear weather in the winter, but not so cold as to make the shoveling of the snow difficult. In any case, the idea is to have the heap as compact as possible. Packing and filling. In an ice house of the foreign pattern, erect a trellis work of wooden crossbars at the back, or use a kind of coarse crate of the shape of the chamber, but smaller, so as to have an interval all around it, above and below, to be filled in with non-conductive matter. In an American ice silo, have an open work wooden frame for the pile of ice to be built upon. The idea is to have the latter isolated. Begin by placing on the impermeable floor of clay, stone, pounded charcoal, or the like, a compressed layer of reeds, fine cane rushes, or straw, on which stand the crate or cage for the ice, if you thus prefer building up. Whatever the defense, the ice must not touch the sides, bottom, or roof anywhere. Proceed to pack on the straw a layer of ice or snow, where snow can be obtained from mountain summit gorges, or where it falls a few times in winter and can be saved in ice houses before it melts, or snow and ice. If ice, it is to be broken up into egg-sized pieces with the mallet, so as to pack most closely. If snow, it must be compressed tightly. If snow and ice, press the former into the interstices of the lumps. The object is to avoid any holes or seams, and by soaking the snow with water and showering water on the ice so that it will freeze, the whole will be united. Having made one layer, trim the edges square and lay another lot in the same way. When these layers reach a sensible height, pack in the straw or other non-conducting material all around, trampling or beating well down. Thus continue until your top layer reaches within 2 feet of the roof and is at the top of the crate. Then pack in all around, level and cover with straw to the top, with just enough room to shove in some heavy planks to keep all firm. If your pile of ice is simply in a pit, as an ice silo, these planks will be the roof. They need only to be laid on so as to keep off rain, and not fixed into grooves, or fastened strongly. Large stones upon them will prevent the wind dislodging them. Some make a peaked plank roof or a straw one. If properly made, ice houses will keep their contents without appreciable loss right into summer, and the solid mass will have to be cut off as wanted. End of section 8. End of The Book of Ices, Ice Beverages, Ice Creams, and Ices by Mrs. H. Llewellyn Williams.